Welcome back. Okay, so today we're diving into a modern classic, one that literally rewrote the rules of the memoir. We're talking about Dave Eggers' A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius. And honestly, the title kind of says it all, right? It's this incredibly unique book that blends profound, raw grief with a really heavy dose of 1990s irony.
Now, our insights today, they're drawn from Life Beyond the Covers. It's this fantastic blog that really breaks down the intersection of literature, personal growth, and human behavior. They've put together a totally brilliant summary of Eggers' work, and we are going to unpack it right now.
So, at the very heart of this analysis is a story about a young man whose life is just completely upended by unthinkable tragedy. Basically, he's forced out of nowhere to suddenly step up and become a parent to his much younger little brother.
But here's the thing. This isn't your typical straightforward story of grief and survival. Not at all. It's actually this deep meditation on performance. It's about the sheer absurdity of trying to live an authentic life when you're standing right in the shadow of immense, life-altering tragedy.
Right. Let's start with Chapter 1, Death and Disorientation.
In this opening chapter, Eggers brilliantly juxtaposed the staggering, crushing weight of death with the absolute banality of everyday life. You know, things like TV shows and random birthday reminders. He completely refuses to sanitize the trauma for the reader. Instead, his raw, kind of fragmented narration, it just forces us right into the messy, chaotic reality of grief.
And that brings us to Chapter 2, Aftermath and Relocation.
You really see the logistical chaos of grief unfold here. We're talking packing boxes, selling the family home, and eventually moving all the way across the country to Berkeley. Eggers becomes the sole guardian for his 7-year-old brother, Toph. And this move, it's highly symbolic. It's simultaneously an escape from their pain and a pretty desperate attempt at reinvention.
Next up is Chapter 3, which covers the very messy reality of what they call parenting as improvisation.
Think about it. Eggers is suddenly battling school paperwork and absolute household chaos, all while fighting this relentless paranoia about losing Toph too. What's absolutely fascinating here is the paradox of their relationship. On the surface, it's full of juvenile banter and silly beach games, but underneath, that playfulness is basically acting as a shield against deep existential dread. He's constantly blurring the lines between being a fun big brother and a responsible father figure.
Moving on to Chapter 4, we see Eggers focus on building a new identity.
So he co-founds Might magazine, right? And this quickly becomes the ultimate symbol of 1990s Gen X irony. It's a space designed for satire and cultural relevance. But his private duties to Toffee constantly pull him right back down to earth. You can really feel the tension here. It's this constant tug-of-war between a young man's professional ambition and his incredibly heavy parental duties. Okay, next is Chapter 5, The MTV Audition. And let me tell you, this is easily one of the most surreal moments in the entire book.
Eggers actually auditions for MTV's The Real World. Yes, really. It acts as this brilliant satire of reality TV for sure, but it also totally exposes his own desperate craving for external recognition. This whole scene captures the ultimate 1990s ethos. He desperately wants to be authentic, but he's hyper-aware that he's essentially just performing that authenticity for an audience.
Then, Chapter 6 dives into community and fragmentation.
You see how grief completely reshapes his social ties. He isolates himself to protect Toph, driven by this exhausting, relentless paranoia. And if you read carefully, you can actually feel his inner instability bleeding onto the page. His narrative voice literally becomes increasingly fragmented as the chapter goes on.
All of this sets the perfect stage for Chapter 7, Reflection and Meta-Narrative. Here, Eggers starts actively breaking the fourth wall. He directly questions the ethics of even writing a memoir about his family's trauma. He exposes the artifice of his own storytelling, which highlights a really fascinating paradox. Think about it. Is it ever actually possible to tell a 100% true story when the very act of writing it down is by nature a performance?
Finally, we reach the conclusion, a memoir of contradictions. By blending that raw, unfiltered grief with genuinely absurd humor, Eggers created a true landmark in contemporary literature. It's not just a book about survival and parenting, it's about the mechanics of storytelling itself. It really leaves you wondering how you're interpreting and performing your own life's narrative.
But hey, the Life Beyond the Covers blog doesn't just stop at memoirs. They also pull incredible insights from a variety of other fields. So let's look at a few quick takeaways from some of their other features.
Take their analysis of Joshua Foer's Moonwalking with Einstein. The core question they ask is fascinating. Are memory champions just born with superior brains, or do they just use better techniques? Well, Ford discovers that these supposedly superhuman competitors are actually quite ordinary. They just utilize ancient, highly effective methods of memorization. It's a real game changer.
Or consider Gregory M. Walton's Ordinary Magic. The main takeaway here is that human beings are fundamentally interpretive creatures. Massive changes in our lives don't always require grand reforms. Often, just a subtle shift in how we interpret meaning can completely alter our trajectory. Like simply reframing a low grade from "I'm not smart" to "I just need a new strategy." It makes a huge difference.
Finally, the blog dives into Arthur Schopenhauer's Counsels and Maxims. This one is a stark reminder that chasing external improvements, things like wealth, status, or praise, is deceptive. Ultimately, the greatest determinant of our happiness isn't what's outside, but our inner nature and the discipline of our own minds.
All these summaries really highlight the blog author Prafula Sharma's dedication to lifelong learning and, more importantly, connecting that knowledge with meaningful action. Whether we're examining deep personal trauma, like with Dave Eggers, or the mechanics of human memory, the end goal is always growth. So as you look at your own experiences this week, ask yourself, are you just reacting to your circumstances, or are you actively shaping the narrative of your life?